Alright, this is Nightbird #1. Little Robert has grown up and become Nightbird. This is his first solo series, and it has art by Gregory Landsman before he was hated by the internet. I didn't mind this cover, but lazy art on his face. You could get away with the shadows, but they're so specifically there to be lazy rather than because it looks good. Okay, Image, someone else could do this cover well if they drew an actual face on them. Dick Grayson, the original Robert, Batman's sidekick. He became Nightbird in Tiny Titans, and Batman got through a series of different Roberts after him. Nightbird eventually left the Tiny Titans, and a few years later they got around to giving him a solo series when the main priority should have been giving him a haircut. The artwork, which seems to be the main discussion point whenever Gregory Landsman does a book, it is somewhere between acceptable and bizarre. This is before Gregory Landsman adopted the more photo look, and he was basically just a regular comic book artist. Still a lot of tracing going on, and we're still a lot of tracing of other artists' work, but he's somewhere in the realm of 90s cheesecake artist instead of being just the porn man. I can tolerate Gregory Landsman's work more than most, and people sometimes point to his early stuff like this and say that he had some potential before he just started resorting to tracing everything, and I don't know if I agree with that. I prefer his later work because while he is tracing porn, make no mistake about that, it sometimes works, whereas something like this is a bit all over the shop. He doesn't have a style. He doesn't really know what he wants to be. I didn't think the action really works, but altogether, this is straight in the middle of 90s art. Some individual bits are good, but the in-between or sequences which have clearly received less attention or effort from the artist, they are really poor. We start this comic with the standard street level hero stops a mugging scene, but we have the victim having an orgasm while it is going on because it's Gregory Landsman. Clearly he was already using some porn, but it's not the case that every single thing is him tracing from a piece of pornography. I remember there is a blog that just complains about Gregory Landsman's art, and they made a big deal about how one of his covers was traced from a movie poster. The cover in question was for Marvel Zombies, and it was a direct parody of the poster to Evil Dead, and they were complaining that it was traced. That to me reflected how blind some people's desire to hate Gregory Landsman is. In that instance, that is like a completely acceptable time to trace something. Could a better artist draw it without tracing it? Yeah. But that's like an actual time you can make an argument for the use of tracing. The main thing we are setting up here is Dick Grayskull ganning off on his own and starting his own thing. We have him having a long conversation with Batman about his future and his identity and his desires to be more than just Batman's former sidekick. If you have been watching me videos for a while now, you will know that I have correctly theorised that every time Batman makes a guest appearance in a comic book, he is either written as a dickhead or an idiot, and in this case he is written as a dickhead. But there are moments where he is not a dickhead, which could confuse a reader into thinking that he is not being written as a dickhead this time, and that my theory does not hold water. We get a slight recap on Dick Grayskull's background, and I said slight recap because it makes the decision to ignore and not acknowledge the Tiny Titans at all. But where this character is at now is he has just come off a period where he was filling in for Batman. He became Batman while the real Batman was recovering from injuries. And now Dick Grayskull, he is wondering what he should do next. And he has decided that he is going to retire from superhero shite so that he can focus on having a personal life and a life away from Batman and have a chance to get a girlfriend, which is all incredibly disingenuous since the book made the move to ignore the Tiny Titans as part of his history, which was something that provided him with a life away from Batman and a girlfriend. And Batman doesn't really care about any of this. He doesn't even wish him well. He just nods his head. Written as a dickhead, as I said. There's summit for the girls. Girls gone mad for Nightbird. I don't know why. Maybe because he has such a limited personality, they know that he will not cheat on them, because that would be to say that Dick Grayskull has layers as a character. He gets a visit from Jarvis, the butler, Batman's butler, and Jarvis does everything that Batman should have done in that scene just before. He says how he always hoped that Dick Grayskull would choose his own path in life, and he supports his decisions. And there is a note that is important to the plot that you can barely read because of the stupid choice of colours. And we kick off a silly plot where Dick Grayskull investigates the possibility that his parents were assassinated as part of an international conspiracy. And so everything about him retiring can be forgotten about. And we end on a weird beat too. You would expect to end on him in costume again. A big splash page showing him swinging around. And a some things never change sort of ending. But instead it's him making the moves on the woman that he saved from muggers. He starts pulling back his hair into a ponytail next issue, so it is a long fall down for Dick Grayskull's fashion sense. I think that is the real story here. A man struggling with his identity so much that it manifests in a terrible taste in style. There is not much meat here. There's some okay stuff about the character wanting to move on, but all that is made a bit useless by the issue ending with him just forgetting about all that to chase down clues about his parents' death. I didn't really recommend this. The character getting his own series is notable, but this is not great. Amateur level art, not much of a story, and those contradictory elements. I will contradict that by giving it a 7 thumbs up.